program, especially with Joshua Langford and his 10 points plus per ball game returning for his senior year.
Regular season champs last year. Will they do it again this year? Here's Tom Izzo.
Open it up for questions.
Is this Dancing with the Stars, man? You look good. Shit, you look really good. You know, I'm excited every year, but I guess a little more excited this year just because I've got what I think is a pretty good team. I think we've got something that we haven't had in the last couple of years. We've got more experience. Maybe not quite as much talent, losing the 2 lottery picks we lost, but I got good guys, and I got 3 players that have been around a while now, actually 4 in McQuaid, but with Cassius, Nick Ward, and Josh Langford, I think I got 3 guys that have been through the wars, have started most of their careers, and I think give us a chance to be good on both ends of the court. We did something last year that I'm not sure ever been done in the league, but definitely not here. We led the nation in 4 categories with assists and defense and our rebounding and block shots, and yet wasn't quite good enough. So we're out to make amends on that, and I love the guys I got and looking forward to the challenge.
Thanks, Coach. We'll open the floor for questions for Coach Izzo.
Awesome.
Front row on the left.
Hondo Carpenter, Spartan Nation. Tom, you have a little bit unique in that you lose 3 good guys and good players, bring in 5, but the chemistry hasn't gone backwards at all, which you'd expect it with 5 new ones. It would a little. It hasn't. How much is that is recruiting, getting to know them and having them in so much, and how much was just pure luck of the kind of guy you got?
Well, you're right. Some of those guys, other than Aaron Henry, had been up to our place a lot as sophomores and juniors and seniors. And Aaron might be the most ready to play just because of his body type and came from one of the best programs in Indiana, won a championship, so knows how to win. But I think the way that happens is if you're egoless. And, one thing Jaron and especially Miles has maybe taught this program, you can be great without being entitled. And this day and age, that's not always common. So those guys have helped as the new guys came in. When guys come back and they talk to them, that's all help. But I would agree with you. I think our chemistry is really good. I think, our new stars, which would be the Cassiuses and Joshes and Nicks of the world, do not have big egos. And I think it really helped Nick. I don't say this very often, but him exploring the waters is sometimes a problem because kids come back. If they don't go, they're kind of half in. He jumped all the way in. He took what they said, took it to heart, lost weight, probably had the best 5 months that he's ever had on the face of the earth.
Chris Solari, Detroit TV Press. Tom, we haven't talked to you since the court hearing in New York. Your program was brought up in a good light. I guess, what is your response to that, to hearing that, and I guess maybe some vindication with that?
Well, for me, there's no vindication, but it's sad what's happened, and it's, but the problem I have, Chris, is I learned last year that I don't know what's going on with all that court case stuff out there. I don't know what's going on with each program. I have enough trouble covering my own program. It seems like if we pass judgment early, everybody in the world was guilty, and now it looks like, it could go a different way. But I think it's sad for college basketball and college sports. I think it's the nature of the beast and what we dealt with, and I don't feel vindicated because you shouldn't be commended for doing what you're supposed to do. You should be, and we didn't do anything any different than just about every program that I know here does it the same way, and I take my hat off to all the Big Ten coaches, and yet it's not healthy for our organization. It's not healthy for college basketball. It's not healthy for college sports, and hopefully something will come of it. I just not privy to know all the circumstances, so I'm not going to comment on things that I don't really know enough about and just speculate.
Eli Herskovich with 670 The Score. You saw Cassius Winston take over games, especially in conference play, but struggle in the Syracuse game especially. Do you see him being that closer and taking over that role this year?
You know, I do. I think Cassius is one of the smartest players. You know, I've been blessed with the Valentines and the Draymonts, who I would consider have huge basketball IQs. If I think this team in general is a little better, I think we have a better basketball IQ than some teams we've had. But Cassius is right up there with one of the best we've ever had as far as his basketball IQ. And, you know, it's just putting the rest of his game together that's going to be a key. We all struggled. The coach did a bad job against Syracuse. That wasn't Cassius. And Syracuse did a great job. And so the combination of two, we had the third best three-point shooting team that shot 8 for 36 or something. So I don't look at anything negative with that as far as Cassius. I look at what he did again with his body, continually to build that up, get stronger, get a little tougher. It's amazing when you look at the stats. He led the Big Ten with almost 56% three-point shooting in conference play last year. And then we do what we did in that game. So maybe it goes by the adage, live by the three, sometimes die by the three. But I think Cassius does have a chance to be one of the better players in this league because of skill level, because of intelligence, and, because he's got now experience.
Hi, Coach. Coach Izzo. I am Tanya from On the Move with Sports Cows. And my question is, with the off-season, how did you prepare the new athletes as well as the veteran athletes to, because you came off a good season. So how did you prepare them to, get ready for this season?
I'm glad you reminded me. We did win 30 games, and yet I can't blame the media or the fans because I felt the same way. When you expect things, they don't work out that way. It's disappointing. But I thought, in all honesty, this off-season was really important to get Nick back in the fold after he tested the waters. And thank God that was no work. I mean, he came back, and that day he started working out twice a day. And as I said, I see some guys that end up half in when they come back, and that's what most people warn you about. If a guy tests the water and comes back, sometimes he's not all the way in. Nick was all the way in. That made it easier. And then Josh and McQuaid are two guys that they're just grinders, and they kind of set the tone that Miles and Tum Tum left, and that's just that constant work ethic. And pretty soon we started dragging everybody with. So the off season, the way the NCAA has done it now, we get more time in the off season. I think it's got mostly goods, a couple bads that you got to make sure you balance everything. But I thought we had a great summer, and it wasn't a battle cry of let's make up. We knew we were a good team last year. We knew we got beat by a good team, and we knew we didn't play well or shoot well. And so it wasn't like we were trying to correct a million things. We were just trying to, our battle cry this summer is we got to finish the job now. And we finished it in the Big Ten, but we did not finish it in the NCAA tournament.
First row on the right.
Paulin Banks, thesportsbank.net and the bank.news. A little bit earlier, he touched on Cassius Winston. What a great basketball IQ he has. What about in terms of book smarts and just overall intelligence? I know he got into Harvard. He enjoys reading a lot. How would you rank him among some of the other players you have in terms of just overall intelligence and leadership and things like that?
Strange. You're right. He got into Harvard. I don't have a lot of guys that do that. But he's been great. He's been great because, to his mother, she'd rather him be a great student and a great player, and that balance too, this day and age of college sports is refreshing. But he's done a great job in the classroom. He's a very accountable kid. He was raised right, and it's just a matter, I think, if I'm working on something with Cassius, it's the sense of urgency to be great and not just really good. There's three phases, if you ask me. There's good, there's great, and there's elite, and to win championships and to someday be an NBA draft pick, you got to start hitting that elite status. Only the best survive. And sometimes his unselfishness, is something I'm trying to get him to be a little more selfish. And, that's a cool quality to have to coach. But you aren't going to get many better kids than Cassius Winston. And I'm just blessed to have him another year.
One more quick question right here.
Yeah, Coach. Steve Hellwagon, 24/7 Sports. You've obviously been around long enough. Remember the 16-game, 18-game, and now 20-game. What's your thought about that? And it seems like it's a trade-off of a couple of those guaranteed wins that you'd have at home. Now you're playing one Big Ten team at home and one on the road, and kind of upgrades everybody's schedule perhaps.
Well, as always, as a coach, you get mad at Jim Delaney because he keeps moving this thing up, and then you see what it does for our league and for TV and for exposure, and he's brilliant. You know, it's something that I think we talked about in our meetings, and, you know, let's face it, the only problem is you'd like to have the flexibility to be able to schedule a bunch of other games non-conference. I think that's part of the fun. That's what we've done a lot. Probably will still continue to do it, but something that fans and media should understand, a average conference game is usually tougher than a very good non-conference game, because the conference, they know each other. You know where you're going to play in front of a rivalry crowds and things like that. So if you play even the bottom rung of the Big Ten and you play them at their place, and that's an extra game. I mean, when we went from 16 to 18, that was 2 games. It seemed like 4. Now going 18 to 20, and we've got a pretty tough non-conference schedule, starting out with the #1 team in the country in Kansas. So it's going to be an interesting challenge, but I think the madness behind it, it usually works out best for the student athletes, for the media, for the fans, and for the players, because you play in the best arenas, you play in the best games, you play in front of the most people. It gets you the exposure you're looking for. And sometimes for a coach, it's harder because it's just constantly grinding it. But I think most coaches even like it too. I know I do. I'd rather play good people. I mean, what does an off day do? You know, you take your wife out to dinner because you're playing a dog. I mean, that doesn't, once the season starts, that doesn't matter anyway. She knows dinner is usually at the end of the year.
Coach Izzo, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks. I do like that.